this week, our very own Larry Pesce presents the technical segment tonight entitled Spoofing GPS with hackRF. In the security news this week, hacking police body cams, Adobe execution flaws, Google expands its bug bounty program, and if you live in Australia, you could face 10 years in jail if you don't unlock your phone. In the final segment, we're going to air a pre-recorded interview of Matt Alderman and myself live from DEF CON, recording the first ever Cigar Conversations. That's where I ask Matt security questions, Matt asks me cigar questions. We did a whole segment and it was a lot of fun. All that and more on this episode of Paul's Security Weekly. This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly. Welcome. Did Larry have an introduction? Hi, everyone. This is Paul Asador, and I guess I'm introducing...
Apparently, I no longer do. Wow, and I look short.
So, I accidentally landed in New England and stumbled my way to the G-Unit studio.
That's pretty much how I envisioned it happening. Yeah. Carlos, save the show, please.
Yes, somebody's got to do it.
Cannot be saved.
Well, it's good to have you back, Carlos. Jeff, welcome. Nice to have you in studio.
It's great to be here, Paul. Try to stay awake for the whole episode.
Yes. We've been in studio dropping his phone incessantly. Welcome, Chad.
What? Where? Oh, hey! I'm in the studio with you guys. That's kind of cool.
The average time between being hacked and realizing you've been hacked is 1 year. Can you afford to let an intruder roam your network for that long? Can your company weather the fallout when this comes to light? Black Hills Information Security can find the bad guys in your network and train you to do it yourself. Email consulting@blackhillsinfosec.com to find out how a hunt teaming engagement can help you find a persistent threat in your network. NetSparker, the developers of desktop and cloud-based web application security scanners that enable you to automatically identify vulnerabilities in your web applications and web services. NetSparker scanners employ a unique and dead-accurate vulnerability scanning engine that automatically verifies vulnerabilities with their proof of concept. For more information, visit them on the web at netsparker.com or email at contact@netsparker.com.
Spider-Man. And welcome to Spider-Man. Welcome to the show. But first, let me introduce you to our host. He's a man who wants to know what the battery life is and can you use it if it's still plugged in. Paul Asadorian.
Welcome everyone to Paul's Security Weekly. This is we're a really sick bunch of individuals in more ways than one now, I guess, because most of us have some kind of ailment post DEF CON. We won't say what Larry's ailment is, but
It's just I'm sick.
Yes, that's
In the head.
Yes. But anyway, this is episode 571. It's nice to be here. It is August 16th, 2018, and we are broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island. Of course, Larry is across from me.
Yay!
Did the introduction. Very, very nice. You've got the technical segment. Very excited about that.
It's lots of fun. And this one, I actually tested it earlier today, unlike last episode, and it worked. It's still a little tricky. But
sure.
It works.
You got to get the right order, sacrifice the right...
Yes, sacrifice the chickens in the right order.
Yeah, that's right. Before we get to our very special guest who's never been on the show before, on the lines via Skype, Mr. Joff Thayer is here. Joff, I'm way more excited than I sound. I just want you to know that I'm very excited to have you on the show. I just can't express it as much as I'd like right now.
Oh, that's so much love. Look, I did not attend the Summer of Love in Vegas this year.
But you still managed to get sick, and there's something to be said for that.
I know. I went to Europe, and I got sick. So, yeah, great. Okay. So we're all a sick bunch with summer flus. I just, it's not fair when you do that. It's just not right.
We picked up this sort of European person, too, along the way. We don't quite exactly know how he managed to social engineer his way here. There was this email and then this phone call, and Sam and I kind of looked at each other and were like, what's the worst that could go wrong? We'll just have this person intern for us for free for 5 weeks, and it'll be fine, right? Like,
what's the worst could happen? We could end up dead in a dumpster.
Like, so we took a chance, but it turns out Aaron Leland is here with us. It's actually his last or second to last day here. at Security Weekly. We're very sad to see you go. And Aaron's going to participate in the show. We're going to make Aaron's dreams come true because he totally fanboys me all the time. I'm not quite sure if it's genuine or not. But Aaron is here with us, so Aaron, welcome.
Thank you very much. Aaron, I'm here just smoking Paul's cigar because he can't reach it today.
Yes, thank you for smoking my cigars for me.
That might be
Someone
why
had to
that
do
might
it.
be why I have a sore throat. But someone has to smoke your cigar.
I hear
on the set.
Aaron's like-
Paul's got a cream for that, and you can take it right from the dispenser.
That's right. Aaron's like, I like to smoke cigars, I like to drink, and I like to learn about security stuff. And I got 5 weeks, and I want to come spend it with you guys. And I'm like, yeah, it sounds like a match made in heaven, sure. I mean, we might all die because you might be a serial killer, but thankfully you weren't. You were just a silly person that lives in the UK with an Irish-ish accent.
Yeah. It's like I was born and brought up just north of Belfast, and then spent 23 years in the Royal Air Force, and the time's just come to an end, and I'll be starting a new job in London in
And now,
September.
see, I knew you weren't a pilot because had you been, you would have already told me.
Well, yeah.
That's when I learned. That's when I learned hanging with Aaron and some of his buddies that were stationed out there. Those guys were awesome, by the way. Their accents were
I think they really appreciated
hilarious.
being able to crash the Security Weekly
They
party.
were like comedians, dude. They were absolutely. Well, I mean, I don't know. When you're British, like everything you say just is funnier, just because you're Well, you're not. Well, I mean, you are British, but you more have an Irish accent, I think, than an English accent.
Yeah, I guess it's a Northern Irish accent. You probably can't pick up on it now after sort of smoking loads of cigars and hanging out in Vegas for a week.
It gets the ladies' attention though. Like when they come into the booth, they kind of focus on you because you've got this accent, and they're intrigued with that.
Yeah, well, it helps with sales, and that's the main thing.
That's right. You sold lots of shirts for us at
Yeah,
DEF CON.
sold lots of shirts.
Thank you.
And lots of
You know what
comic
they
books.
say? You know what they say about accents, Paul? It's about sealing the deal.
Yes.
So seals has a hidden meaning there.
Oh, is
You know,
that
you
so?
got to seal the deal. Right?
Interesting.
I have no idea what I'm talking about.
You don't,
Okay.
but you have a sexy accent.
But
too,
whatever it
Josh.
is, the accent just sold us.
It did. It doesn't matter what you say because there's an accent. So we've had lots of fun. You've done some pretty cool projects. I wish we could have spent more time together. I wish you didn't have to leave. Why do you have to leave? Well, I know why you have to leave, but come back.
Yeah, I'll definitely come back. It's like some of the production staff. It's like everybody's been really nice to me, like absolutely everybody. And I've even been invited to come round and stay at one of their houses. So I'll probably come back in the spring, and hopefully I can sort of crack another project while I'm here.
That'd be
and
awesome.
Try and contribute a little other than just sort
Drink
of
a lot more of our brews and smoke a lot. more of
Yeah,
my
sort of get
cigars.
into your
Yeah.
humidor and
Really dig in.
yeah. That
You
big.
filled in, and what's the funny part is that a lot of listeners don't know, we do a cigar show called the Stogie Geeks. Aaron filled in as a host for me on that show like the entire time while he was here, which is awesome,
Yeah, but it's been a great opportunity, and
including the tequila episode.
the tequila episode was off the hook.
And I mean,
Absolutely amazing.
good thing we captured it on camera because at a certain point, I don't remember what happened. But
Yeah, it was nice to watch it back, or a bit cringeworthy to watch it back afterwards.
Been there,
Yeah.
done that.
at the end, so they told me that I said that I loved everyone. That's how I ended the show.
Wow.
And I love
so
everyone.
that there was no Thanksgiving incident.
There was no Thanksgiving incident, thankfully, but I did tell everyone that I loved them.
Right. You'll have to tell Aaron about the Thanksgiving incident if
You
you haven't
don't?
already.
Oh, I've heard about the Thanksgiving incident,
There's no
but it's
secrets.
like
There are
it's
no
like
I didn't tell him.
There
I
are
didn't
no
tell him.
secrets around here.
I've heard about.
I
the,
had to talk to Ron Gula at DEF CON and have the conversation. Ron, did you listen to the episode? Because someone may or may not have peed in your pool.
Did he listen?
Oh my goodness.
At which time he looks me straight in the eye and he goes, "Paul, I can't tell how many times I peed in that pool." And then I'm like the conversation goes on to another topic for a little while, and I'm like, "Hold on, Ron, let me come back. I was swimming in your pool that you just admitted to peeing in, so the joke is on us, Larry. The joke is on us. Ron was peeing in the pool the whole time."
Well, see, I've never admitted whether or not I peed in the pool.
true, yeah,
so
you've been kinda-
the joke may be, in fact, only on you.
Only on me. I was the only one. Anyway, that's
Well,
that's
you
how
can
that
sum
went.
it up. You can sum it up in one sentence, and that is: drunk stories are the best stories. That's
Well,
all there is to it.
no good story started with a salad, I guess.
Or a glass of milk.
Yeah.
I lost my teleprompter. Do we have announcements? We did the Endgame webcast today. That's in the announcements, but we did that today. You
Man,
can
he's really sick. No
securityweekly.com/Endgame. It was an awesome webcast, by the way.
Nice.
Endgame announced that they've built into their agent the ability to detect malicious macros. So if you have a malicious Word document, as it's being copied to the file system, their code looks at it, applies machine learning to the macro code, and says that's malicious.
Interesting.
Apparently, they're claiming like nobody else does this. Like even VirusTotal, or they've uploaded some documents. Like there's really nobody else doing. I'm sure, like with everything.
But now there will be, right?
Now there will be, right? But I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah,
feature
I watched it from the sofas in the green room, and it was really informative, really good. And
Yeah.
I think I learned quite a bit from it. And I think even the guys in the studio, I find it absolutely fascinating that some of the guys that you have working for you now are non-technical. And they're coming out with technical jokes now. It's like, especially Sam when she's dropping pen test jokes, sort of mid-afternoon.
I hate to single anyone, but Sam's really gotten the lingo. To be fair, Sam's been here longer than some of the other folks as well, and deals more with that side of it. But yeah, Sam did come out with some good ones today.
I tell you what, I am looking
And
forward
I mean, Mark
to.
watched Hackers,
Yeah.
right?
Finally.
So like he gets all our
brilliant.
Hackers jokes now. It's wonderful. I did have when I was Larry was standing next to me. We were standing at the vendor booth.
Yes.
And a person walked by with this T-shirt, and like he walked by long enough for me to read it.
Yes.
But not process it, right? Because it happened fast, and then it was like open bracket, double quote, hip, and double quote, comma, double quote, hip, and double quote, and then and bracket, right? Yeah, bracket. And I was like, I said I thought it, but I said it out
like
loud
hip
to Larry.
hop, hip
I was
hip?
like, yeah, hip hop.
Hippity, hip hop.
Hippity to the hippity hip hop,
Don't
hip
stop.
hop hooray, hip hop hooray.
Hooray.
It's a
No,
hip
no, it's a
hooray.
hip hip hooray.
Hip hip hooray.
Hip,
Sorry.
hip, hooray.
Hip hip hooray. And I was like, wow, that's really funny, and I laughed hysterically to myself for like 5 minutes, and then I went to go find the guy to find out where he got the shirt because I want one, and I couldn't find him. So
Maybe somebody can send in a link of where to get it, and we can all
yeah,
have
or
them.
if whoever you were walking by
Yeah,
our
that'd be
vendor
great.
booth in the hip
Hip
hooray shirt
Is that like when we
Like,
went
let
out to
us
dinner
know.
and we found that guy?
with the hack naked shirt and taking selfies with him.
and taking selfies with
Hey
him.
man, like your shirt.
Yeah, do you want a Jaeger
It was
shot?
pretty- yeah, it was pretty epic. Yeah, and then we bought him a shot, and he got spanked. He's
got
like, "What?
spanked."
What's going on?" Anyway, I think that's all we have for announcements. Javelin is doing the next webcast with us, and that's with Joff Thayer and myself.
Yeah.
It is.
It's that one.
okay,
It's that
yeah,
one
it
right
is.
up there on the screen on MP2 right there.
How to get
Hey,
attacked?
look, there I am. Yeah.
How to get attackers to contain themselves. Javelin's releasing something like brand new, shit hot as well. Kind of along the lines of the endgame stuff. We're lucky that we have awesome sponsors that are doing really good. I mean, that's why we choose them as sponsors.
I like the way you
because
really-
we really like them.
Yeah, I like the way you really curate the sponsors, and it's like when I've been around for the last 5 weeks nearly, and I see you talking to the sponsors, and I'm there on the sidelines, and I hear all the talk afterwards, and you will only take them on as a sponsor if you actually believe in their product.
Yeah,
And
like, dude, if I'm not like, yeah, I totally use that. Like, if it was my enterprise or even my business today, if I'm like, yeah, I totally use that, then that's one of the litmus tests for sponsors.
And
right?
I
And that's
And
it's
sometimes
been
we
that
defer to experts like Larry. There was a company that I'll mention them on the air because I thought it was really cool that they were there, and I felt really bad because the Cisco booths at Black Hat were like so loud when they were presenting. It was PFP Cybersecurity. It's a hardware security company that's looking at the emissions from power and noticing deviations and all that stuff. And I'm scheduling a briefing with them because I'm like, that's just cool. Like, I just think that's really cool. But like Larry and Doug are going to be on the call with me because they're experts in those various areas. So like, you guys need to see this, and then you guys need to tell me like
They got to pass the sniff test.
They gotta pass the sniff
well,
test.
that's like Tempest stuff, isn't it? It's like that's stuff that we've known about for lots of years.
Sure.
And the fact that people aren't putting sort of Tempest filters on their equipment and they're actually bleeding out information from.
Before we get to the tech, there's one other vendor that I will mention on there because they were my A for the day across all of Black Hat. A for the day means when I went up to your booth or did a briefing with you in some capacity, like you knocked it out of the park and you were firing on all cylinders, and I was impressed.
Man, so
with-
many metaphors.
Right? I was impressed with the people. I was impressed with your technology. I was impressed with your pitch. And I was impressed with the state of your company in terms of, and I won't tell them what they are, but like the number of employees you have, how much funding you have, how many customers you have, and how much revenue you've made. And Jay Scrambler was in Innovation City and knocked it out of the park, firing on all cylinders. I mean, problem, solution, very, very clear. The way they developed, grown the company, they're based out of Portugal. I was talking to their technical guy, and I was like getting into it. I'm like, you guys are, I'm like high-fiving him after he's like giving me some of his numbers and stuff. And then the founders walk in, and I high-five them too. I'm like, you guys are awesome. And they were my A for the day. I thought they were a really nice bunch of people. That goes a long way with me. If you could sit and have a conversation with me, and like I genuinely just wanted to hang out with them because they were so nice. Believe me, there were some other vendors that was a complete opposite that will maybe never get mentioned on the show ever again, but
not at least intentionally.
Exactly.
Unless they have a vulnerability in their product and it's totally awesome.
Right. So J Scrambler, they basically obfuscate JavaScript. So if your application includes JavaScript and that's in your public-facing application, but you want to protect your IP, in this case your intellectual property, you can basically scramble it or encrypt it with their technology. They do some cool things, like if I try and take that blob and just run it somewhere else, I can't, and it crashes the debugger on purpose. And it also, if I want to clone the site and do a phishing attack, I can't because that scrambled code won't run on my servers.
Yeah, I thought it was really awesome.
Loved it.
They were straight in what they did, how they did it, and what the outcome was, and everybody just fanboyed them. It was great.
We have screened all the vendors that were at Black Hat, 300 and something of them. We've had a conversation about each and every one of them. So for me to pick one, I think it's a big deal.
Yep.
So I was impressed. And
yeah, they can take my money.
Yep. I was like, can I invest?
Yeah. Write a check now.
I mean, I got like $50 in my pocket. Is probably all I have. But
I've got a load of receipts from whiskey.
Yeah. So I like those. So I'll give them a free plug on the show. As well as also Think Penguin, which will remind me to talk about later. I want to bring them on the show. But before we do anything else, Javelin Webcast, make sure you go to securityweekly.com/Javelin, how to get attackers to contain themselves. We got off on a tangent there. Anyway. We're going to turn it over to Larry to do the technical segment for this evening.
Excuse me. Get that out of the way. Whew.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah, I'm glad you got that out early, Larry.
Yeah, no kidding. Larry, No kidding, right? Yeah. It's better in the middle because then I want to spoof that, right? All right, so spoofing GPS with the hackRF. Last show that we did, I was going to say last week, but that was DEF CON Black Hat. But last show that we did 2 weeks ago, we talked about Osmocom FL2K and that you can do all sorts of fun stuff. And you could use it to spoof GPS at a really short distance. And the demo was the chickens weren't sacrificed in the right order.
Correct.
And Aaron didn't push the goat against the cliff the right way, and all that stuff.
They like to do that.
This one I've tested at least twice. It's still a little finicky, but we're going to try to make it work, and it should work a little bit better. There's one step that I'm going to skip over, but I'm going to talk to you about how I did it and why and all that good stuff. So the part of the reason why is it takes 5 minutes to run. Ain't nobody got time for that. Not during this demo. All right. So much like last time, let's give you a little bit of background. We're going to be talking about spoofing GPS and GPS specifically, which is a U.S.-funded satellite global positioning satellite system. Funded by the U.S. government through various iterations. The original implementation was in 1973. I didn't know it went back that far.
I didn't know either. Yeah, that's
but very much for military use in the 70s, and has seen various iterations. We're going to be speaking specifically about GPS. I know there's other navigation and positioning systems available on the planet. Russia is GLONASS. The EU is Galileo. China is Baidu. So there's a bunch of different positioning stuff that you can use. We're only going to be specifically talking about GPS in this case. There are some software and hardware stuff that we can use to do some other of those, specifically GLONASS, but I'm not sure about Galileo and Baidu. That said, most of the devices you're buying now, the chipset supports being able to interpret at least two. Typically here in the U.S., it's GPS and GLONASS. So transmit only from the satellite down to our receiver devices, and it's not a two-way communication, so it's just a push down from the satellite. That said, the satellites do have two-way communication for admin and all of that type of stuff. They've got.
Do they triangulate to other satellites?
But they do not, to the best of my knowledge, but it's possible. It is, and we'll talk about how some of that triangulation happens. It is a lot of math. The location of the receiver is determined by maths. Knowing where the satellites are and being able to determine the signal strength and the time that the satellites are broadcasting and the effective Doppler shift, meaning how far away that satellite is and when it's moving and the frequency changes and the time changes. So there's lots of complex math between
the device.
time.
Your
Right.
device is doing that math, not the satellites.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And it's doing it based on multiple points. In the research that I was doing on it, they say you need minimum of 3 for a lock for triangulation. You need a 4th to be able to derive time. And time is really one of the things that's important about being able to get an accurate lock, because you need to know how far away the satellite is and how long it takes a signal to get to you and how far that time is deviated and what time the satellites think they are, because they all have clocks on board. So lots of math to go into all of that stuff. The big one is that it is incredibly important that the receiving device knows where the satellite is overhead. How does the receiver know? Well, it can download it from the satellite. The satellites will transmit that on occasion in small chunks. But there's other places where we can get some of that as well.
This is a completely open frequency to listen on for any device, obviously, right? Because everyone needs to know GPS coordinates.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
So there's no restrictions on listening to GPS.
Correct.
Is it true, like, that the US-funded satellites, if they're not for military use, they have a bit of a wobble on them?
They used to, and they still do. They used to. It was selective, and I can't remember the term. And they actually turned selective, whatever it was, off. I want to say 10 years ago. That was one of the big things that the selective positioning that was turned on was like a 30-meter accuracy. When they turned that off, you could get to 3-meter accuracy.
Wow.
And when that happened, the sport of geocaching took off.
Yeah.
So when as soon as that selective availability.
And I guess Pokemon Go as well.
Well, Pokemon Go was significantly later.
Yeah.
But I want to say geocaching started about 2003, 2004.
Yeah, it's been going for a long time.
Yeah, and that was as soon as selective availability was turned off in the U.S. So significantly more granular. That said, those same satellites based on use for the military, you potentially 1 meter granularity
1 meter,
or less.
A 10-figure grid reference.
Exactly. Exactly.
So wait, there's a military GPS satellite system as well as a general purpose
My understanding it is the same, but the ability to receive additional satellites and more fine-grained information depending on your receiver type.
I gotcha. How many? This is a silly question, but I'm just curious. Did you in your research figure out how many satellites there are?
There's a very well-defined list. We could figure that out.
Sure.
Yeah, we could go to Wikipedia.
Is it like 50 or a couple of hundred, or I'm just curious?
I want to say the highest number I've seen is like 38.
Okay.
But there could be more. It would be fairly easy for us to figure out.
And I'm sure there's a maintenance cycle. Like are they? I'm sure there must be, right? If they deployed in 1973.
Yep. And some of them have come down. Some of them are space junk now.
Hit by stuff, right?
Space junk, and some have been replaced.
Russians taking them out.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm sure
this is why we need Space
Force.
Star Wars.
Star Wars and Space Force. That's why. Protect our GPS out.
All right.
Anyway, way off on a tangent.
So why would we spoof GPS? Like Aaron said, Pokemon, so we can freaking cheat at Pokemon. Right?
That's right.
So particular
when you say spoof, you're just a device that you own.
Yep. Handheld.
You can tell other applications on that device that you're in a different location.
Yes.
Okay.
In 2 ways, and that's because that becomes interesting with the Pokemon Go stuff. So in the example, short animated GIF here, they are using a GPS simulator controlled by a joystick, transmitting RF to that Android device. And when he's moving the joystick, the character in Pokemon Go on the Android device is actually moving based on joystick decisions transmitted via RF.
Yeah.
Now, the transmitted via RF is kind of an awesome thing for doing something like that, because initially the way they were spoofing something like Pokemon Go was an app on the phone. When the phone was in developer mode with GPS mangling turned on, which you had an app on the phone that would interact with the GPS API to tell other applications, oh no, you're really here.
Gotcha.
So that's how they started cheating with Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go said, oh, we can detect when you're in developer mode and you've got this turned on, and we'll ban you for doing those types of things. But they can't ban you for receiving legitimate RF processed by legitimate GPS signals. Or maybe they can, but... So...
they'd have to analyze my guess is they'd analyze your behavior.
Right. Like, hey, all of a sudden, within a 30-second period, you went from Rhode Island to Vegas.
Right. Like,
So I think
either you developed and implemented the transporter technology that's on Star Trek, or you're spoofing GPS.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I ride
So
bikes
I'm
as
thinking,
well.
sort of got a question and statement, Larry. I'm thinking that the gain on a satellite signal is pretty low, and if you were to transmit something similarly at a much nearer geographic location, you're probably going to win.
Yes, sir.
Oh, so it works similar to Wi-Fi in that respect.
Yes. Your transmitter is likely going to be stronger than the satellite.
Correct.
Yep.
Because the satellite's how many miles away in space?
A lot. Many.
I thought you'd have these
many.
numbers. How many satellites, distance from the Earth at any given time?
Exactly. Many. And their signal is going to be relatively weak.
How many times in a year does it go around the entire planet?
You can tell that we don't preload these questions.
No.
It's like
But
hit him
great
with
questions.
the hard questions.
Yep. So some of the reasons why you'd spoof GPS, not Pokemon, right? You could do VIP attacks against folks with cars. You could drive them off a bridge because the GPS nav is going the wrong way. You could send them down the wrong street where you have an ambush set up. All of these types of things. Instead of a very important person, you could do very important cargo for shipping. You send the wrong GPS signals to some sort of marine craft.
I think that was in a James Bond movie or something.
Maybe those marine craft that have cargo, or maybe those marine craft that have munitions or soldiers of some
I
variety.
feel like
on
that
them.
was in a James Bond movie where they stole the shipment, right?
Yeah, and I think it's been tried.
You live in the
real
UK,
life.
you must know everything about James Bond, right? Isn't that how it works?
Only about like anybody with an accent like Sean Connery or something like that. I won't try and do the accent with my voice at the minute.
I sprayed Febreze in my bathroom, and now it smells like citrus. That's my best Sean Connery.
But I think there's been a big trouble of sort of African pirates and stuff like that. And if they're
That
spoofing
was
this
actually
stuff,
funny, by the way.
I think it went over my head.
Nice. So one of the other ones is we could do some anti-drone or other types of hijacks, very much like what happened with the stealth drone, U.S. stealth drone, captured by Iran after they had allegedly spoofed GPS to force the drone
landing
to
of the
land. Well,
in Iran.
It freaking crashed because it thought the altitude, it was over Iran, and it thought it was at a different altitude, and it was it was supposed to be at 30,000 feet. They just made it go, and they made it go higher, effectively going lower, and
the Iranians did that to intercept one of our drones.
and they recovered it, and the pictures are on the presentation, and you'll note that they've got like sheets around the bottom to not show the bottom because they crash landed that bitch, and the bottom is all messed up.
Gotcha.
And they didn't want to sort of reveal how they did it, but they crash landed it.
And that's a big theft of intellectual property.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's a lot of money in research and development right there.
Yep, in hands that you may not want it to be in.
Correct.
All right, so how can we make this happen? We talked about FL2K 2 weeks ago. That sucked for us. It sucked for me for that demo. There's some potential stability issues. It's doing something that wasn't meant to do software-defined radio. However, a hackRF is a software-defined radio. It's an actual software-defined radio meant to transmit shit.
And you could have bought them at DEF CON.
You could have. And I brought mine with me.
DEF CON's like just a quick segue. When Larry talks about all this hardware stuff, pretty much everything that we've talked about on the show and everything available, rather than like ordering online and paying shipping and like waiting, like you can just go to DEF CON and buy it, which I think is pretty freaking cool.
Sometimes you pay a little premium for it at DEF CON.
Sure, because you can have it right now.
Right.
We want
But
that
it's
instant gratification.
usually that premium is offset by shipping depending on where you're getting it from.
But you also have the guys there at the booth, the tech guys, that'll tell you how it works as well.
Yep,
so.
exactly. So there's a bunch of different options. I'm using the hackRF. We could use the BladeRF. We could use the Atom Pluto. I think we can use the Lime SDR that we talked about. Some of that stuff last week. I'm just happen to use my hackRF because it was sitting on my desk at the time. So
And the hackRF is how much?
$300.
Okay.
$300. Yep, and mine's a little bit more expensive because I added the ShareBrain Technologies Portapack. It effectively makes the hackRF standalone. So instead of needing a computer to do some signals interceptions and decoding and that type of stuff, it will do it right there with a screen and an interface.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, battery pack and go portable. There's the current firmware I have loaded is called the Havoc firmware, which will actually go through and do transmits as well. So you can transmit ADS-B aircraft beacons on the legitimate channel if you so choose to. I don't recommend doing so.
Pretty scary.
Yeah,
Isn't
exactly.
that FCC violation?
Hell yeah. That's a federal pound me in the ass prison violation.
Well, yeah.
I was going to say FAA might have a problem with that.
FCC and the FAA might have problems with that, but the capabilities exist.
The FAA will prosecute.
Oh heck yeah!
Unlike if you're like doing ridiculous stuff with Wi-Fi, like yes, it's illegal. You should not do it. But
Yep.
if you violate the FAA regulations, like someone's gonna come find you and you're going to prison.
Yep. So on the software side, to go along with the hackRF, I investigated a bunch. The best that I found was a tool called GPSSDR Sim from GitHub from OSQZSS, because I'm not going to try to pronounce that. A bunch of, I want to say Chinese folks developed this as part of some of their research, which they talked about at DEF CON. With GPSSDR Sim, you can do a couple of different things. You can effectively broadcast a static position, or you can create a path/trajectory for where you want the device to go. I only played with the static at the command line, but in researching more of this, I kind of found out how easy it was to do a trajectory. It requires a file input to the utility in either CSV, ECEF, or NMEA GGA file format. I'm like, how the hell do I get one of those? And turns out there is a free set of software called a free NMEA GPS simulator software from LabSat in the UK. They give it to you for free, and it will generate NMEA GGA streams, which you can then use one of the utilities with GPSSDR Sim to convert to the appropriate file format to use, so that you literally draw on a freaking map and output the data, and then you can make your device look like it's walking.
I
For
see.
free.
Gotcha.
For free.
Gotcha.
I only did the static from the command line. Joff, you had a question or just neat?
Oh no! Just saying that's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Carry on, Larry.
All right. Install. It was one of for a software-defined radio project, it was arguably the easiest install I've ever done.
That's awesome.
Which I was
'Cause
shocked
I can
about,
imagine.
because they usually suck.
I can imagine. Do you have to compile?
Yeah, I had to compile it, but let's get there. So I got the source from GitHub. On my brand new Ubuntu 18.04 system, same from 2 weeks ago. I think I had GNU Radio already installed, and I wasn't really sure if I needed it for this, but I installed it anyways. And the libhackRF drivers and all of the hackRF development stuff. That was really all I needed to be able to interact with the hackRF. Great. On the GPSSDR Sim side, it was easy as executing a single GCC command to make the tool. And it compiled the first time without errors.
Okay, that never happens.
No. I think
Wow.
I think the only thing that I did that may have even affected that was sudo apt-get install build essential.
Yep, sure.
And that was
gives
it.
you all your build tools. And I want to encourage the folks listening to the show that use all this newfangled technology. Like, you can download a VM, you can spin up a Docker instance, and all your tools just magically work.
That's amazing.
You should do that. But before you do that, you should also learn how to compile things using GCC, learn a little bit of C, learn about how to build project. You're going to need that as a sysadmin, as a security professional, in so many different roles. Like, you need that experience.
Yeah, I think what you find is loads of masters programs now are running that as really early modules, because they find that it's the foundations of everything else you're going to do through your sort of forensics and your...
Because that way, if you do a package install or something else and something goes wrong and it's giving you errors from a build process, you've done it from scratch. Like I'm a huge fan of before you do the automated thing, right? Like I don't know, there's a lot of examples in life. Like before you drive an automatic car, you can learn to drive a stick shift, like that kind of stuff. Like I think you need to understand how this works. And here's Larry sitting here today after doing this podcast 14 years going, yeah, like I still have to compile stuff. Like it's still a very valid skill to implement a project that we're going to use in today's world. So yes.
Well, look, I double down on that. Paul's exactly right. Like for the listeners, it's a beautiful thing to have things like Yum and depackage and apt-get and all those wonderful things. But eventually shit goes wrong. And when shit goes wrong, sometimes you have to compile manually. Sometimes you even have to edit source files and header files of C projects completely manually and correct them. And don't be scared. Dive in and do it.
You gotta dive in on that stuff. I agree.
And
absolutely.
So I'll supplement that. Moving into after compilation, you want to actually use it. Remember we said
we're still just amazed that it compiled the first time.
Exactly. Mine is to compile the first time with no errors, and it worked. So remember when I said that one of the most important things was knowing where the satellites are in the sky?
Yes.
So that you can start building the map and do the math? Well, GPS SDR Sim has no idea where the satellites are. It has no ability to receive. It's a piece of software.
It has to get those in real time. You can't preload.
It has to get them in real time, which when we connect a GPS receiver and we do the download, that sucks. I'm inside. No GPS reception.
Yeah.
NASA, on the other hand, will provide you a text file that contains a map of where all of those are, all the satellites are, and their future trajectory. They will provide that you on an hourly basis or on a daily basis. I found that the easiest way to do that was to grab the map from NASA on the daily basis. And because the hourly is generated, it's not really hourly, it's like 57 minutes or 103 minutes, and you don't know what the offset ever is. And one offset is 53 and the next one's 57. So I
much prefer the daily.
I know. So the big one was now they have all these weird file name formats and it's really obtuse, and they have a guide for figuring it out, and I actually did it wrong the first couple of times. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to automate my daily. And I thought I was going to go live on the edge, and Mark would be laughing his ass off, and Johnny is in the back room laughing his ass off right now because I wanted to automate my daily and live on the edge, right?
Yes.
So I wrote a damn shell script to go and automatically get the current day's daily file every time I want to generate stuff.
Oh,
and the shell script is on the screen.
It's nothing like a shell script to automate your daily.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's fantastic.
So
automating your daily is very healthy.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to do it manually, but if you can automate it, it's even better.
I agree.
And doing the manually was kind of a pain in the butt, so I did it. I automated it, and it will automatically go and get the current day's daily map once you execute it. And you just put your head in front of me. That's okay.
Sorry. I was reading.
Yeah, you got to get your glasses out, Paul.
I do.
Yeah, so it defines 3 variables. The current day from January 1st. So which day of the year is it? Like 227, 228, 229. The 4-digit year and the 2-digit year.
The date command in Bash is just amazing, right? Like, we talk about all this newfangled stuff. Just
date command.
Yeah, how long's that been around, right?
Yep. So then I use wget to get a file from the anonymous FTP server at NASA in a specific directory in the GNS at GLONASS, even though it's GLONASS, it's really GPS. Data daily in the 2018 year directory, the BRDC directory, and then the file is called BRDC 3-digit day from January 0.2-digit year. So 18. N dot capital Z. Yay! See what I mean about it being freaking obtuse?
Yeah.
Then it decompresses that exact same file based on that, and then tells you, hey, here's your Ephemeris file. Here's what the file name was named. Use this file for generating your data.
That's cool.
So, yeah. So beautiful. I'm actually going to use that with the demo, but I even updated the script to tell me what commands I needed to run next. Because you go to do the demo, and what you've got, you have a little notepad on the side, and copy and paste the commands. No, it's right in the terminal session as to what I need to do. So let's do the demo. But be careful, be smart, use an attenuator or a Faraday cage. Do as I say, not as I do. Because you will note on set there is neither an attenuator nor a Faraday cage.
No, there's a Faraday cage. You just can't see it on camera.
Right, it's an invisible one. All right, so what I've got is my...
so wait, spoofing GPS is not kosher with the
well,
FCC?
because you're transmitting on 15...
You're transmitting on
1.575 gigahertz.
Gotcha.
Because you can't change that, or the
But
receiver
you
chip
have your
doesn't
ham
have to.
radio license. Doesn't that absolve you of everything?
No, it's a licensed frequency, which I am not licensed for.
Gotcha.
But with
well
the
put. I intentionally did that so our listeners
yes,
would
exact,
know.
perfect. But with the hackRF, it's such low power that we're likely not going to affect it. We may get the guys next door, Johnny and Sam, on their phones.
Sure.
But it's probably pretty unlikely. All right. So what I've got QuickTime capturing my phone.
Low power for testing purposes usually.
Yes.
Is that like an unwritten rule or?
It's usually okay. But if you can do it in a Faraday cage, when I was doing it at home because I didn't want to screw up any of the other stuff in the house, I literally made a little tent of aluminum foil over it. And
you just made your own little Faraday cage.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it looked like a crazy weird hat, like because I had it underneath, and it was
Well, then you can use it for your tinfoil hat.
Tinfoil hat.
Exactly.
Tinfoil hat.
Exactly. All right. So what I've got is my Ubuntu 18.04 VM on the right, and my iPhone connected via cable to QuickTime, which is capturing in real time. Which of course it's locked, so it won't do anything. So there we go.
Is that your iPhone?
That's my iPhone.
Okay.
Yep, that's my daily driver iPhone, and it shows that we're right at Pizza Hut and Quaker Lane in Warwick.
Which is
where
right
we
next
are.
door, sure.
Which is where we are.
It's weird.
We're really
GPSs will tell you you're at Pizza Hut, but
I don't know if you use Uber. Sometimes it'll tell you you're in the middle of the sea.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the get BRDC command, and I'm going to have it go get that file based on today's stuff. I've already done this today, and it's telling me, do you want to recreate it?
Hey,
Sure.
I mean, there's no harm in doing your daily twice.
Yeah, never. You do it more than
once a day.
Right? So then it tells me, now run this command. GPSSDR Sim. 8-bit samples outbound to a file. We're going to use our Ephemeris data from BRDC 2280-18N, which we just downloaded. This is the map of all the satellites. And we're going to tell it from the command line, hey, we want to spoof our location of 36.11, negative 115, 244. Wherever that location happens to be. We want to broadcast that we're in that fixed location.
I got
using this satellite map. So
anyone in the vicinity of your hackRF will be basically like transported to that dimension.
That dimension. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So this command, this GPSSDR Sim, generates samples to disk. It doesn't replay them. It doesn't interact with the hackRF. It just creates a file that you transmit later. We're going to transmit it right now. The last time I ran it, it took... so if we scroll up here... nope, sorry.
That's the command that takes 5 minutes?
This is the command that took 5 minutes the last time I ran it. The last time I ran it this afternoon, to create 300 seconds of data of, hey, we're going to transmit for 300 seconds, it took a total of 498 seconds to generate. So...
is that your average time daily?
Yeah, it's about.
Yeah, I got you.
Sometimes it's a lot faster.
Sometimes it takes longer.
More fun, but that's not bad.
Sometimes it takes longer, and that depends on the hardware.
Exactly. Or depends on what I'm watching, right? So it's going to output that binary data for us to transmit into a file called gpssim.bin. So the next step is actually transmit this in the air. And we're going to use hackRF transfer, which is one of the hackRF tools to take a binary file and push it to the radio and it out.
Gotcha.
So hackRF transfer, we're going to read from gpssim.bin that we created with that 5-minute
binary
step.
file is the instructions to tell what frequency to transmit on?
Nope, because that's the next one. That's the next command.
Sorry.
There's the frequency.
Continue.
Yep. There's our sample rate at 26,000 samples per second, and I don't remember. I don't remember what A1 and X0 are, but I do believe it involves the onboard amplifier. So let's take that, copy, paste, and let's start sending GPS. Okay, so it's sending. Let's see if we update our location. Let's give it a little bit to change the lock here. Nope, not yet. So this is the part that gets a little finicky, and I haven't figured out exactly what the order of operations is.
Oh, we're moving.
Yeah, but we should be moving
You
a
take
lot.
the shot of Jaeger first, then you get a spanking.
Yes.
I think that's very
So
important.
let's turn
'cause
Wi-Fi
you don't want to
off,
get
yeah.
a spank, then a shadow Jaeger.
Right? I
That's
think
what
you want
she
the
said.
shot
Oh,
first.
oh. I turned Wi-Fi off and we started to move.
Yeah, you remember it does Wi-Fi triangulation with Googlies.
Yep.
So,
The
or Apple, either one.
Yep. So I'm going to close Google Maps. Let's reopen it. Go away. Still thinks we're there.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is there like an app in OS 10 that puts your iPhone screen on your screen?
It's QuickTime.
Oh, QuickTime. You said that earlier.
Yes.
That's
So
what you're
if
using QuickTime for.
like one of our customers showed me this, and I'm like, this is the best thing
really
ever.
cool.
You cable to the Mac,
Mm-hmm.
QuickTime, new movie, and next to the record button, there's a little drop down, and you can pick your camera source. Built-in camera, connected iPhone.
Oh my God. It's like the best little hidden feature ever.
Yes. And it didn't change yet. So let's do this.
Live demos, man.
Yeah,
Live
no,
demos.
it's fine. We'll go airplane mode. I'll let it sit for a second.
Yeah, you gotta let that GPS get new data.
Airplane mode, turn off Wi-Fi, turn off Bluetooth. Cellular is allegedly off.
But interestingly, my phone location changed. No, just kidding.
We're trying to get you to come into the studio for a hot toddy.
Oh, thanks, Aaron.
I love
Appreciate
hot
that,
toddies, by the way. While Larry's doing that, I just want to say thank you, Aaron, to show me how to make a hot toddy. I remember you for a lot of things, but every time I make a hot toddy, I will think of you.
Thank you. As long as it's not edging, we'll be okay.
Maybe after the hot toddy.
Or smoking your cigars.
All right.
You guys
so
need a room.
Let me do this for a
What
second.
cigars? I think you smoked them all.
Let's do this.
I've had a go. I've shipped most of them back, to be honest.
Do it again. Do it again, Larry. Do it again.
So this has happened. I'm going to unplug my hackRF. I'm going to replug it back in.
That's a good sysadmin trick there. Turn it off and on.
Okay, reconnected. Restart the command, and let's do it again.
All right, more GPS. More GPS.
Come on, let's work.
You need to update something.
You need a software update.
Yeah, thanks, Fitbit. Yeah. Assholes.
All right, come on, Larry. You can do it, man.
It's
You can
moving.
fly through the air to Vegas or something.
I'm not going back
I
to
just made
Vegas.
I'll be
Not
back.
for
I
a
just made a
year.
guess.
Not for a long
You're gonna land
time.
in Central Europe somewhere, aren't you?
I'm going to be back in Vegas sooner than I'd like to admit.
Oh, you're doing Sands in September, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh my, no, I'm not. I really wish I was actually. I wouldn't mind hanging out.
Well, because you didn't go to Vegas the first time, Jeff.
Yeah, I know. Next year, I promise. I'm gonna work it out.
You need to come hang with
But
us.
I got the
Europe.
European rotation this year. I'm gonna be in London in September actually.
I'm going to be in London in September as well. So you've got
brilliant.
you've got to come visit.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely be visiting some pubs. So
Well, I'm working central London, so just hit me up, and hopefully I'll have recce'd enough good pubs. Tell me what you want to see, and I'll make sure you see it.
oh, brilliant. Yeah. All right.
You know what I want to see.
Come on, Larry. You can do it. Live
Yeah,
demo.
come on.
comments.
Come on, Larry. Make it work, Larry.
I'm trying. I did this twice already today.
And now that we're on the air, it doesn't work.
That's okay. You get to work.
Work it, Larry. Work it, baby.
I've seen Larry work
We're
it,
so
actually.
close. I almost feel like we're at EdgeCon.
Well, we were closer together, and I felt a bit uncomfortable, so I pushed all the chairs back.
Feeling a bit edgy. Oh,
Uh-oh.
got that. Yeah, so the charging kit port on my phone sucks.
I seem to think that's a bit of a problem with Apple phones these days. I seem to be having problems just sticking it in and out, and it actually just holding there correctly.
Yeah, the hole gets loose after you stick it in and out a bunch of times.
Yeah. I've been having a lot of that problem.
I never have any problem sticking it in or out.
Most importantly, you don't have it get loose when you stick it in and out. All right.
What? I don't want to talk about it.
I don't know. It seems like we've got time right at the minute,
Yeah,
Geoff.
we
so,
do, Geoff. So
This is dangerous. Now we're on open conversation, and Aaron opened up that conversation with sticking things in and out of a hole.
Obviously, I
It always seems very tight when I stick it in.
my off-topic story of the week isn't even anything remotely criminal or dirty.
That's very good.
I was trying to keep it clean.
PG-13.
Aaron ruined it.
It's a family show. We're a family show.
Well, it feels like
So
a family.
now you
here.
can see how it's done, Paul. New movie recording. Do this little drop down, and then you pick the iPhone. Mine happens to be named Soon Poop.
Soon
That's
poop.
Soon Poop. My phone is named Soon Poop.
Instead of poop soon.
Yeah.
Soon poop. Why is it?
Well, your poopy phone is not
Wait.
relocating itself when
Miss
it needs
Cranston 2? What is that?
The restaurant across the street.
Oh, it's not the same.
Well, at
It's a
least
strip
we've at
joint.
least crossed the road. I keep thinking I'm going to get done for jaywalking out here.
But your name's
to.
Aaron.
Nah, you need to go to Germany for that, mate.
Yeah, I was in Berlin recently, actually, and apparently that's a thing. And I'm apparently
It
saying
is a thing. Look, I was in Berlin. Actually, almost got killed by a fucking trolley, a tram in Berlin.
you shouldn't have
Fucking
been.
bastards
You shouldn't have
run
been.
me over.
All right,
You
so let's
shouldn't
do
have been
this.
chasing it like a dog.
Let's do this. Let's do.
We'll take a short break. Let you work
No.
on that for 2 stories.
No, let's do Apple Maps, because I wonder if Google Maps is caching the location.
That's it. I'm a believer, Larry.
Okay.
Google
so,
caches everything.
So let's turn
It's
on some
web
Wi-Fi.
browser.
It's pretty
Chrome-
scary. It's
Chrome's
pretty scary.
cache is
It's like I don't even know if I'm online or offline sometimes. It's like I'll type something in.
Nope,
right?
that one
The
like
web
that.
page will come up and it's like, oh yeah, I'm online. No.
like forget it if you have to cut a website over and change its DNS name and change the content on the site. Like throw Chrome.
Why
out
would you
the-
even want to do that? I mean, Paul, seriously.
throw Chrome out the window? I ended up using you can disable cache in Chrome, but I still feel like it caches stuff. I ended up using Safari
Oh right. Wow.
with the
Like the Apple
no
again.
cache. Yeah, just to have and I emptied because I don't use Safari every day. I emptied all of the histories. You go into developer mode and you tell it not to do any caching, and that's what I actually used to test to make sure that I was getting what the internet was getting and not just what Chrome was caching.
What about Firefox?
So-
How's that working these days?
Firefox, the latest versions of Firefox have like bastardized the no caching thing. When I Googled for Firefox, all the instructions were for previous versions,
Okay.
and I had the latest version, and not a whole lot of time to go research how to make the latest version work.
Yeah.
So then I just plugged in Safari disable cache, and I was like, oh, I can see that's that. And there were the same things like previous versions, how it changed. Like the third result down, it's this weird little icon too, that like is not very well described. But when you click it, it disables all the
I
caching.
bet you definitely didn't use Edge because all anybody seems to use Edge for is,
I know. I start using it, and I just never finish.
well, you start using it and you never finish.
Yeah.
But we normally use Edge just to download Chrome.
Eventually, the new version of Edge will be released. Yes.
Is there a new release?
Eventually
version of
you will
Edge
release the Edge.
coming out?
Yes.
Maybe-
Hey, it's Keith.
Oh!
there it is.
moving.
Yeah.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Yay. Where is it now, Larry?
We're right near Prosperity Park.
Where's
and
that?
where Prosperity Park happens to be is in Spring Valley, right next to Durango High School. But if you go a little bit to the east,
We should probably stay away from high schools.
we should see that we're right near Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino
Oh.
and
wow.
the Rio and the
How did I
Palms.
guess, Vegas?
Oh, yes.
So-
we were at the stratosphere and looking down on that part of Vegas.
Yes. So
yes.
see, I told you it worked. It
Nice.
just took some time.
It's awesome, Larry.
So, all right. So let's stop this. Now the sad part is I've stopped this. I haven't figured out exactly how to make it go back. When I did this afternoon, I actually had to physically power off my phone. The other one that I noticed that's interesting is that I wanted to show that it will actually change time zones. But if you look at my phone screen, it says that it's 9:41 a.m. It always goes to 9:41 a.m. when you have the cable plugged in connected to QuickTime.
What?
If I unplug the phone, it will say a different time.
Will it say Vegas time?
I
or-
will shit you not. I will unplug this. A cable just gone done. What time does that say?
Aaron, you're gonna have to.
7:04.
7:04.
That's
But
the
I plugged.
current time.
But I plugged the cable back in.
941. Let me guess.
Have you checked the cable for an exploit?
No, came from Amazon. It
Cool.
now says 941. It's
I
like
think
the
Keith's on something.
it's like the Mac thing. Like every time they do presentations at WWDC or whatever, the time is always the same.
It's always 9:41.
I think so.
Is it the same time?
I think so.
Is it Apple time?
It should
It's
be.
Apple
It should be
Is
5
it quick
p.m.
time? Is it Apple
It's a quick time.
Is it Apple quick time?
You're
Quick
on
time,
Apple
quick time,
time,
Apple
baby.
step, right?
If you can make my phone say it's 5 p.m. at all time, I could have hot toddies every single day,
Absolutely.
whatever time of the day.
Absolutely. So why is this important? So one of the big ones, this is now no longer nation state type of thing. Certainly at short range, we can affect GPS of some devices. It's not perfect, but it can. And of course, there's multiple things in the phones anyways that can do that. But what about something like an NTP server that could change that type of stuff? The interesting thing is if you get it to work, how do you get it to set back? I mean, we stopped. In fact, I'll even unplug this thing, and it still says it's in Vegas.
I guess a soft reset would help that with it.
I will even airplane mode, not airplane mode, cellular, and Bluetooth, and turn those back on. And
when you go back into Maps, GPS takes priority and it's cached it.
Yep, it's cached it, and it's
Google
still
loves to
there.
cache.
I have experienced that without some intervention from me, like rebooting the phone, it lasted more than 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, including
That's a pretty long daily.
including also throwing some of the time off on the phone as well. So, great. What can we use this for? Well, we can divert cars. We can divert drones. Maybe we can crash drones. Maybe we can send false GPS as anti-drone technology for like stuff like DJI stuff and all of those things.
That would be quite interesting in a sort of military context when they're sending in a swarm of lots of drones to sort of drop some sort of kinetic sort of munitions on you, and you could just push them away and maybe push them back to the enemy and have them
Push them back to the source.
push it back to the source and drop it on them.
Yep. The other one that becomes interesting is if you can start manipulating time just a little bit, because GPS will also relay time. How do you deal with time-based one-time pads? Yeah, could you
Poorly?
Could you move time? Yeah, could you move time forward just a little bit to get the next token,
That's interesting.
or could you move the time back just a little bit to get the
Your
previous token?
phone gets that time from GPS?
It could.
Okay, and that would be like a pass the hash situation, but
Yeah.
you go back and spoof what the time is, and you can reuse that hash.
Or go in
It's
the
like
future.
you've made a time machine to go into the future.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep. So that was it. That was sort of why this is important.
It's not about you, it's about your kids, Marty.
Yeah, it's all about the information, Marty.
As long as we can get up to 88, we'll
Thanks,
be fine.
Doc.
So, hooray! It worked! Yay!
It's about
Good
your
job,
kids'
Larry.
one-time pad.
Yay.
So,
Good job, Larry.
But
Tough.
amazingly, if you have the right hardware, amazingly easy to get the right software to spoof GPS.
Awesome.
It's awesome and scary.
Yes. Thank you, Larry. With that, we're going to take a short break, come back, and talk about security news for this week. Stay tuned.
Yay!